Ever talked to someone and realized you might as well have been chatting with a brick wall? Yeah, being ignored hits differently, like throwing a party and nobody shows up. Not even the pizza guy. We've all been there. You send a text, wait some more, and then nothing. No reply. Not even those little typing dots to give you hope. It's like shouting into the void and hearing crickets in response. Being ignored stings, no matter how old you are or how tough you claim to be. It pokes at your confidence and makes you question if you said something wrong, or worse, if you're just plain forgettable. I remember once waving excitedly at someone across the street, only to realize they weren't waving at me. Spoiler, I still cringe when I think about it. But here's the thing, being ignored isn't always personal, and there are ways to handle it without turning into a puddle of self-pity. So let's talk about how to survive these awkward, uncomfortable moments with your sanity and sense of humor intact. Accept that it happens to everyone. We've all had that moment. You're walking down the street, feeling good, maybe even humming your favorite song when you spot someone waving enthusiastically. Naturally, you wave back with equal excitement, only to realize, mid-wave, they were waving at the person behind you. Yep, nothing like a little public humiliation to really kickstart your day, right? It's awkward, sure, but it also proves a point. Everyone gets ignored at some point. Whether it's accidental, like the wave fail, or intentional, hello ghosted text messages, it happens to all of us. And here's the truth, it's not always personal. People get distracted, busy, or sometimes just aren't paying attention. So before spiraling into I'm invisible mode, remember this. You're not alone in the awkwardness. We've all been the accidental waver, and we've all been ignored. It's basically a rite of passage. Do a quick reality check. Before you dive headfirst into a spiral of overthinking, hit pause and do a quick reality check. Are they really ignoring you? Or are they just buried under a mountain of laundry, deadlines, and the oh-so-important task of binge-watching their favorite show? I mean, let's be real, Netflix isn't going to pause itself. People get busy. Sometimes texts get buried, or they mentally reply and forget to hit send. Guilty. It doesn't always mean they're sitting there, twirling their mustache, plotting to ignore you. Giving people the benefit of the doubt can save you from a lot of unnecessary stress. And hey, wouldn't you want the same grace if you accidentally ghosted someone mid-season binge? It's all about perspective. Sometimes it's not about you at all. Reflect, but don't spiral. It's totally normal to feel a little hurt when someone ignores you. You might even start replaying every conversation in your head, wondering what you did wrong. But before you turn into a full-blown Shakespearean tragedy, alas, I am but a ghost in their social feed. Take a breath. Feeling upset is fine, but spiraling into overthinking, not so helpful. Try writing down your thoughts in a journal. It gets the emotions out without dragging you into a mental rabbit hole. And here's the thing, most of the time, it's not as deep as we think. People get distracted, life gets messy, and you're still awesome, ignored text and all. Remember, your worth isn't tied to someone else's attention span. Don't give that much power to someone who can't even remember to text back. Distract yourself with something fun. When being ignored starts to sting, sometimes the best medicine is a good distraction. I remember once getting ghosted and, in a fit of, I need to do something now, I signed up for a pottery class. Spoiler alert, I made a lopsided mug that still sits in my cupboard. I drink my I'm okay tea from it whenever life feels messy, kind of poetic, right? The point is, finding something fun or even slightly ridiculous to do can pull you out of that funk. Whether it's baking cookies, going for a spontaneous walk, or finally trying that yoga class, redirecting your energy helps. Plus, you might end up with a hobby, a funny story, or at the very least, a poorly made mug. Life's too short to sit around waiting for a text that might never come. So go out there and create something, because you deserve more than radio silence. Reach out, but keep it casual, so you haven't heard back, and it's been a while. Instead of sitting there wondering if they've fallen off the face of the earth, why not reach out? Shoot them a text. Something simple. No passive-aggressive, I guess you're busy. Because let's be real, that never ends well. Just a quick, hey, how's it going? Will do the trick. It keeps things light and gives them a chance to respond without feeling weird. And hey, nothing screams "I'm totally chill" like a casual follow-up, right? Sometimes people just need a little nudge. They might not even realize they've been MIA. And if they still don't respond, well, that says more about them than it does about you. Talk it out if it's really bugging you. Sometimes the only way to stop overthinking is to just talk it out. I once confronted a friend after weeks of radio silence, convinced I had done something wrong. Turns out, she had no idea I felt ignored. She was just swamped with work and totally overwhelmed. I felt silly, but also kind of relieved. If something's really bugging you, it's okay to bring it up. Be honest but gentle. A simple, "Hey, I noticed we haven't talked much lately. Is everything okay?" goes a long way. And for the love of all things, avoid starting with "we need to talk." That phrase is a one-way ticket to panic town. Sometimes the conversation clears things up. Other times, it shows you who's worth keeping around, and that's valuable too. Strengthen other connections. Just because one person is ignoring you doesn't mean everyone is. Think about that friend who always replies to your memes with the perfect reaction gif. Spend time with them, and let's be real, grandma gives you snacks. Win-win. It's easy to get stuck focusing on who's not paying attention, but there are probably people who'd love to hear from you right now. Strengthening those connections reminds you that you're not as alone as it feels. Plus, surrounding yourself with people who actually value your time, that's the real glow-up. Don't waste energy on the ones who don't. Set boundaries. If it's a pattern, if someone keeps ghosting you over and over, it might be time to set some boundaries. I mean, your energy isn't free, unless you're solar-powered or something. Constantly chasing after people who don't make an effort can be exhausting and honestly, kind of soul-crushing. Friendships and relationships should be a two-way street, not a one-person marathon. It's okay to say, "Hey, I deserve better than this." Knowing when to walk away from one-sided connections isn't easy, but it's necessary. You deserve people who show up, not ones who vanish like Wi-Fi in a storm. And here's the thing, sometimes letting go creates space for better people to walk in. After all, your time and energy are valuable. Don't give them away to someone who doesn't appreciate them. Work on your self-esteem. Sometimes being ignored hurts more than it should because it pokes at those little insecurities we try to hide. You know the ones, "Maybe I'm just boring." Cue the inner critic, right? But here's the spoiler, you're not. The problem isn't you, it's the story you start telling yourself when someone doesn't respond. That's why it's so important to work on your self-esteem. Do things that make you feel good about yourself. Whether it's learning a new skill, practicing self-care, or even hyping yourself up in the mirror like, "You got this." Because when you truly value yourself, being ignored doesn't hit quite as hard. And remember, how others treat you often says more about them than it does about you. Don't let someone else's silence turn down your own volume. Laugh it off when you can. One time, I was deep into a phone call telling a story with all the dramatic flair, only to realize the person on the other end had hung up 5 minutes earlier. So there I was, just chatting away. To myself. Classic. But honestly, I'm great company, so no harm done. Moments like that? You've got two choices, get embarrassed or laugh it off. And trust me, laughing feels way better. Humor can be a lifesaver when things get awkward or uncomfortable. Sometimes life just throws these ridiculous little curveballs, and all you can do is chuckle. After all, if you can't laugh at yourself every now and then, you're missing out on some quality comedy. Conclusion, being ignored feels awful. There's no sugarcoating that. It makes you question yourself, wonder what you did wrong, or why you weren't good enough to get a simple reply. But here's the truth, it doesn't define your worth. People are messy, distracted, and sometimes just bad communicators. It's not always about you. So breathe, laugh, move on. Because if someone can't see your value, maybe they're the one missing out. Not you. And hey, why not text that friend who actually responds? Or, finally sign up for that pottery class and make yourself a lopsided "I'm over it" mug.